Hi, everyone. Welcome. Today, we are excited to showcase some of the newest updates to Observable Canvases, our browser-based collaborative whiteboards for data exploration, analysis, and visualization. I am Allison Horst. I'm a Senior Developer Marketing Manager here at Observable. Today, I'm going to be joined by several other members of the Observable team, Paul, Visnu, and Michael, who are going to be demoing live what's new. So we're going to start by highlighting some of our new expressive built-in charts with Paul. Then we're going to move on to an overview of AI in Canvases with Visnu to show you some ways that our AI can really help you to get to know your data faster and unblock some analyses so you can move a bit faster. Then Michael is going to hop on to share some of our new data sources, the ways that we have expanded sharing options in Canvases, and how we've improved workspace management to give you more control over who can see and edit your work in Canvases. Just a heads up, we are going to have a live Q&A at the end of this webinar, and we're going to hold off on answering questions until then. So you are totally welcome to add your questions in the chat at any point, but just know that we're going to return to those and answer as many as we can in the live Q&A session. Or you can hold off and share your questions when we actually get to the Q&A. As a reminder, if you have to run early, we're going to be recording this webinar and we'll share it out with all registrants so you can return to it at any time. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome Paul to join us to share a little bit more about our newest built-in chart types in Canvases.
Hi, everyone. Nice to be here. Really excited to show some of the work that we've been doing over the past few weeks on adding new types of charts. So I'm going to share my screen and hopefully everyone can see this. Getting some nods. Okay, great. So I'm going to walk through, I think it's 5 or 6, I can't remember. I have it all ready though, of different charts we've added to Canvas. Canvas, there's lots of different types of charts you can have. You'll see here on this example, there's all these different ones we have on the left-hand side. I'm going to walk through these newest ones we just added here. So the first one being a bump chart. So bump charts, they're great for showing rankings by group, usually over time, to see how maybe a group has changed in rankings. And it's a really fun one to do. Here I've got with some sample data here. And you'll notice you can see for certain countries, it's like, I believe it has to do with like international sales and some specific category. You can see how the changes in these different countries have ranked over time. For bump charts, you can plug in with different types of data sets. It'll handle some of these aggregations for you. You can also do a lot of different options here, how you want to rank, whether rather by descending or ascending order, the width of each of these different lines here. If you want to make them really big, say if you have fewer categories, you might make that larger. You can show the specific rank labels or points there. So different ways you can kind of customize this chart. And this is a really fun one for this sort of data set here. So that's the first one. We've got a ton, so I'm going to keep going through these. Next one is bee swarm charts. This is one I've really enjoyed. Actually, one of the reasons why I first fell in love with D3, because it's such a unique type of chart. It's hard to make. So bee swarm charts, they visualize observations for a single, typically quantitative variable, and they use jitter to avoid overlapping marks. So here, again, it's got some just dummy data here. It's about purchases in different categories. And here I'm showing it over time. So you can do it by time, or you could do it by just some sort of quantitative variable. And you'll notice that none of the circles here are overlapping, right? Because it's using jitter to kind of make sure that there's none of that. And for these, you can change a bunch of different options. So you can change whether the bee swarm is going to plot it in sort of like a middle anchor, kind of the middle of the screen. You could have it go at the top of the screen or the bottom of the screen. You can change the padding, so how much space there is between each of these different circles. You can increase it or decrease it. I usually like to keep it around 1 personally. And you can also adjust sort of the range of sizes for the circles, so the minimum radius and the maximum radius. So you can make little adjustments there and see how that updates the results. So yeah, fun one to play around with. I'm going to pivot on to the next one. So let's see here. Let me find my spot. I think it's all the way at the top. Here we go. Sankey diagrams. So Sankey diagrams, they can show the flow of quantities between different stages, locations, categories, groups, whatever it might be. It's a very unique type of chart that it's hard to do with other types of chart forms. So we wanted to bring it to Canvas. So here again, it's showing the relationship between continents and different cities here, just again, some sample data. And for Sankey diagrams, you can change a bunch of different things here. You can change the alignment. This is kind of the default. It's called justify. It's kind of like the most optimal alignment for how you want to put things there, but you can change the direction of that. You can also change the sorting. So if you want to do it, again, there's kind of a default optimal one, but you can also do it by just say like the size, ascending or descending could be nice. You can also adjust things like the width of each of these different bars there, or the padding in between them, different ways of showing your data, hiding nulls, things like that. So a really fun chart to use for a specific data set where you really have that sort of flow of different states or categories. Underneath, I've got the circle packing one, which I had the pleasure of working on. It's really fun. So circle packing, it can show these sort of different hierarchical relationships between different categories. So I'm actually using the same exact data here. It's showing different continents and different countries within those continents. And it's using some, kind of default value. I think it's just counting the number of rows to show the size of each of the circles. So for this one, you can set, different groupings of this. So you can set how it's going to contain each of these different circle packs. Here again, by continent. You can also set the color. This one's also using the same grouping as the color. And then for the options here, you can also adjust the padding. So if you want to increase that or decrease that, can be nice for showing different types of layouts. Next up, we've got, I think it's on this page here. Here we are, stream graphs. So stream graphs, they show changes in counts or values over time by group. And they usually apply some sort of smoothing between the values to show this sort of like fluid or wave-like appearance. It's similar in many ways to like an area chart, but instead of kind of anchored at the bottom, they're kind of more anchored along the center here. So for these, you're going to have the same sort of options for how you build out your area charts, the different encodings. And then the options here, you can set if it's a date, the different intervals. You can also kind of change what's the offset here. The wiggle is pretty fun, but there's also a center one. How it interpolates between the different values. So you can use a linear interpolation. The default is this really nice smoothing one, Catmull Ram. I think I'm saying that correctly. And then there's step interpolation, so a bunch of different options there. You can also do some changes to the y-axis, which can be really helpful for stream graphs, given that they're kind of, centered. You want to know exactly what the center means there. But yeah, this is a really fun one to use. Next up, we have, going back here, arc maps. So this is a really unique one. You might have seen in different areas. So this one here, what it's going to do is it's going to show the flow or connections between different locations. So we're using that same data set. It's going to show the kind of flow of sales between different countries. And this can be a really cool one to use if you really want to have that specific data set for this use case here. And this one's all fully interactive. So you can kind of pan around, you can zoom in, you can change the pitch and the bearing. This is pretty neat. And this one uses DeckGL for doing the visualization here, which is a pretty fun library. So here we've got, you can change the base map, zoom levels, all these different settings for arc maps. And I think that's everything here. We went through bump charts. Yes. So those are all the brand new charts we have available in Canvas. Love to hear any questions you have at the end, and we can walk through that.
Awesome. Thanks, Paul. It's really exciting to see these getting built like day by day. Some of these are charts like Sankey's and arc maps and bump charts where I always have thought like, those look so cool and useful, and they're so hard for me to build from scratch. So it's been really nice to create these, most of them just in a few clicks once you have the data in shape, and really exciting to see these new charts. Thanks, Paul.
All right, thanks, Allison.
All right, now I'm going to welcome Visnu back to tell us a little bit more about AI in Observable Canvases.
Hello, I'm Visnu, software developer here at Observable. I've been working on the AI stuff. And so we've never really talked about AI in a webinar context, so this is more of a recap of what's currently there. If you have questions or whatever, again, feel free to bring that up in the chat, and then we can answer that at the end. This is just a canvas with some e-commerce data. I think for first off, the AI is accessible via the sparkles, of course, as all AI is either sparkles or robot icons, I think. And one thing, at least for me, you'll have to use your imagination a little bit. There's only 3 tables here, but at least in our data warehouse, we have like, I think, 90 or 80 tables, and they have like 50s of columns each. And I always forget where things are, even though I've built half the tables there. And so oftentimes I'm just kind of asking like, where is, I don't know, the demographic data again? And so AI here has your schema. And so it can quickly tell you where things are. Here, oh no, ag. I have now hit the wrong hotkey. So 1 second, let me get back to that. Okay, so here, and then I aborted this. This is actually interesting here. I'll use this as my demo for context anyway. So it ended up aborting its answer. And so normally I think people are used to having conversations with AI. Here you'll see that like it started answering my question inside of this frame, and it added this table here. I can kind of just delete that and ask it again, or I can delete it, and it uses the entire context of the canvas, again, including this schema as its context. So where is the demographic data again? Of course, I have a typo, doesn't really care. And so here it finds it again and tells me a little bit more about it. And, so now that kind of knows what I'm getting at and what this conversation is about, I can ask it like, what kind of analyses can I do with this? So here, interpreted this to mean, the demographic data. gives me some good ideas here for what I can kind of do using this type of data. And I don't know, we can like show me the geographic distribution. Again, you'll see it's answering everything by basically using all the things in the canvas. Here it has also drawn an edge, so it's used this table that it already had, and it's used that data in order to draw this map for me, which is this state data over here. So that's cool. And then I think a good one is kind of like maybe higher level types of things, or like, are there any let's just go with outliers. Let's see what it thinks for that. Whoa, going too far out, sorry about that. So potential outliers of demographic data. I decided to draw a chart here for no reason. Of course, this is now different from before. Let me try one other thing. I'm going to try demographic outliers. Okay. The other thing I wanted to maybe highlight is it concentrates on your viewport more than anything else. So here you're seeing that it actually pulled in the survey table again as part of its response, which is still fine. But so we have multiple survey tables here. Whereas before you kind of saw it use the survey table that was already on the screen. So again, just highlighting a few things in that the AI here, it's not conversational. It doesn't really, it is a little bit conversational, but it basically works with you on the canvas. And the canvas is the context for all of its operations. And then here we can kind of look at its take on all these outliers, which is always, very helpful for it. And this is all I'm pretty sure this is all correct. Of course, the other kind of tenet we have here, Observable, is AI, shouldn't be doing these things in a vacuum. You're working with it. So all of these things are, hopefully you're there, you're kind of interpreting what it says. You can push back on it, and it will kind of go and figure out whether or not who's right and help you kind of get to the truth of things. That's pretty much it for AI. Again, let me know if you have any questions, and we can go over those at the end.
Great. Thanks, Visnu. And yeah, as a reminder, we're saving questions till the end. So if you have questions about charts or AI or Michael's upcoming demo of sharing and data sources, remember, you can put them in the chat now, and we will be returning to those. Okay, thanks, Visnu. Okay, next up, I'm going to welcome Michael back to tell us a little bit more about new data sources, new ways to share in observable canvases, and workspace management. Hi, Michael.
Hey, Allison. Thanks. So the first thing that I want to do, I don't have a demo for this because it's a little more abstract, but we have added 2 new types of data sources to the canvas. So now, as well as the existing Snowflake and DuckDB databases you could use before, you can now also connect to Postgres databases and Databricks. So if you have your data there, now it's more accessible. And yeah. The next thing that I want to show you is we've added a version control system. So I have the canvas that you saw Paul demoing earlier. And let's look behind the scenes a little bit and see how Paul built this. So we can show the version history. And then we can see he's been working on it right up until the demo this morning, but we can jump back and see like, oh, what was he doing at about 8 o'clock this morning? So about 2 hours ago, if you're in a different time zone. And so we can see that he hadn't added the circle packing yet. And if we advance through the history, we can see things slowly pop in, and we can see them get refined as he worked on it. Yeah, so this is a great way if you want to see what something looked like in the past, or if you need to restore something as a sort of backup. So I could, from this menu here, I could restore the entire context. Or if I just want a single thing, I could say copy this and bring it up to a different canvas or even the latest version of this canvas if you want to undo something. The other thing that I wanted to show off today is two methods we have for sharing canvases. So we've added the ability to embed sections of the canvas in internal sites like, say, intranets via iframe embedding. So to do that, you would right-click on the elements you want to embed, and then say generate an embed code. And I don't have anywhere to embed that I can share with you because it's targeted at internal audiences, so I'll skip over that part. But then if you just want to like send a link to someone, if you want to send a link to someone like on Slack or in an email, you can say copy presentation link. And then you can send this to one of your coworkers and they can open that link and they'll get an isolated version of this canvas that just shows the content you wanted to show them. So it lets you really focus down on specific cells, and you can control the so like back in your canvas you can arrange it. And so like let's say let's do these two. I can copy presentation link for that, and we see it as it is shown in the canvas. So you can lay things out and make sure it looks like you want before you share it. And then the final thing that I wanted to talk about, again, I don't have a way to demo this, but now if you add people to your observable workspace as viewers instead of editors, they will have access to canvases as well. And they'll get a similar isolated version of canvases where they can't, where they won't be able to make changes. They'll just be able to view what's going on and see the results without having to give them access to edit them. I think that's all the updates for workspace sharing that I have. So I'll pass it back to you, Allison.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Michael. Okay, so those are some demos of our newest features, including our new advanced charts, AI helping with data profiling and analysis in canvases, and new data sources sharing and workspace management. So now we are right on time to hop into our live Q&A. So I'm going to welcome back Paul Visnu to join Michael and I. And we already have a few great questions in the chat. And remember, keep adding more questions and we will see how many we can get through. Okay, so the first question that I think is a Visnu question was about a specific part of your demo, but I think maybe we can speak to it more broadly, is can you ask AI why it believes certain points are outliers?
Yeah, so I did. And this is a pretty good answer, I think. And of course, use this. Gave me more of a breakdown of where these were coming from. And I was also digging into some of this data again because of it. So the other thing you, of course, notice with using AI to do all this is you end up generating a whole bunch of questions as you go, which is always kind of great because as you're exploring your own data, you end up thinking in new ways or new dimensions that you didn't really try before. So here it basically summarizes all this, and then it believes that they're just statistically uncommon or are underrepresented in this specific data set. So yeah.
Great, thanks, Visnu. Okay, and thank you for the question, Matthew. All right, the next question, this is a good one from Gabriel, is can you export the code used to generate our charts in canvases? Who wants to take that one?
Yeah, I can jump into this one. So no, you can't export the code for the charts that are available in canvases. Honestly, they're quite complex, as having worked on some of them, because the idea is they really need to handle for all these different types of data sets and all these different use cases. So, generally, if you're looking for code to generate these types of charts, I would refer you to many of our examples out there that we have from the D3 gallery and the plot gallery building out all these different ones here. And that's what we use. We use D3 and Plot extensively for all of our work. But I should also note that you can generate your own custom charts within Canvas. So you can take code into Canvas if you want to build any type of chart. So yeah, that option is available to you.
Great. Thanks, Paul. And thanks for the question, Gabriel.
Yeah, actually, Alison, I wanted to add something to that as well. With the iframe embedding system that we have for sort of internal context, we do support. You can't take the code out, but you can take the chart out and embed it in other places. And we're working to improve the where you can do that and where it is safe to share that.
Cool. Thank you. Okay. We have another question about kind of expected and possible uses of canvases, which I think is a good question. So can this canvas be used for scrolly telling content, like interactive when scrolling? For example, can you set it up for things to automatically change as a user is scrolling around the canvas?
I don't want to take that.
I can. The simple answer is no. We don't generally see Canvas as a tool for like building like fancy interactive graphics. More, we see it as a tool for data exploration. And so if you need like complicated or like advanced presentation capabilities, I think that will be more something for the notebooks desktop thing that we're also working on as a tech preview.
Great. Thanks, Michael. Okay. We have another question from Gabriel, which I think this is for you, Visnu, which is, can you use AI-generated answers as context for the next AI question?
Yeah. So there's kind of two things that's going on. One, it generally always has access to its last answer. So that's when I kind of hand waved around context and conversation there. So it kind of always has its last frame that it created on the canvas as context for the next one. But then additionally, kind of what I was saying is like it uses the canvas as like its context. So I can do weird things like the secret is ABC 1 2 3, and then like, you know, ask it over here like, what's the secret? And then hopefully sometimes it refuses. Okay, great. So sometimes it refuses because it thinks like, oh no, I'm sharing passwords here. But here, you know, it saw this and then just tells me this. So generally, so this includes your work also, or your coworker's work. So they might have created something on the screen, and if you're there, you can ask AI about it. Or if a coworker has written a bunch of SQL and you don't quite understand it, you can actually just ask that too, and it can try to explain what they did to you. And then there's another question from Ariel that I wanted to quickly answer since it's AI related too. So Brandon Model. So we're using Anthropic. Right now we're using Haiku 3, whatever the latest version of Haiku is. And then I'll hint that on the roadmap is other models and or providers too.
All right, thank you. Thanks for the questions. Okay, there is another question. Can you copy and paste objects from TL Draw? And maybe this is an opportunity to just share a little bit more about the ways that you can interact with and navigate content across the canvas.
Yeah, I can jump into this one. So yeah, absolutely. You can just copy and paste things on your canvas and you will have more of them. So yeah, it works very well. And then, you know, with Canvas, you get all those sort of like features you kind of expect for navigating the canvas, right? You can zoom, you can pan. We also have here, I've kind of hidden some of the different menus there. We have this like little mini map, which I really like a lot. That's an easy way to kind of navigate through the canvas and see everything you have there. There's also options for things like, if you want to, if you go to preferences, showing the grid. I always like having that actually, and snapping to the grid. So this way it kind of makes it easier to get it in specific positions. So you'll see there it's kind of moving a little bit more rigidly across the grid. So yeah, you can absolutely copy and paste things, move things around. There's lots of kind of like little, I think, hidden features there to make it even easier to navigate.
And yeah, I wanted to highlight this is using TLDraw as its base. I did just try to copy and paste some objects from TLDraw.com into our canvas, and no, you get an error right now. Although that might be workable, maybe. But right now, but you can copy and paste from observable canvases to other canvases. That totally works within the same canvas, or across into a new one, or between pages and all that. But not really from TLDraws to TLDraws right now.
Okay, great. Thanks both. Okay, I think that gets us to the end of the currently submitted questions. So maybe I will end with just kind of a what's next question for each of you. So I'll start with Paul. Paul, any thoughts on what's coming up next in terms of charts and canvases?
Yeah, I mean, just more. There's going to be more chart types in canvases. So we've got like a long list of things we want to add in. So there's lots of things there we're planning to do, and also more types of options. So right now we've got ones that are kind of unique to each type of chart, and we're going to add more that are kind of global options, so you can kind of adjust things for all different types of charts, which is going to be really fun. So yeah, stay tuned. We're constantly releasing new ones, but we should have many, many more in the not so distant future.
Great. Thanks, Paul. All right. Visnu, you're up. I think you kind of alluded to this, but any other thoughts or comments you can share on what's coming up with AI in canvases?
Yeah, so one that I alluded to is always kind of like provider and model. So being able to swap out kind of which provider and model you want to use, maybe being able to bring your own in a sense, and other related things. The other one that we're working on, and this is a maybe funny anecdote, is that you'll notice that our AI uses the canvas. Most AI that you might have used right now like writes a bunch of code or writes a bunch of English. And initially, we couldn't get it to stop doing that. So like when we had it on canvas, the most easiest thing for it to do was for it to write SQL, for it to write JavaScript for you. And then you could use that. But it took a lot of doing to get it to stop doing that, and create kind of all of these things using the tools that are on the canvas. So coming back to that though, is that in writing SQL, at least right now, and code, but in writing your SQL, getting that AI help to kind of have it generate SQL, edit your SQL, all that.
Great. Thanks, Visnu. And actually, I saw one more question did come in that I want to answer before we move on to Michael's future-looking response, which is from Alexander. Some of you might have seen our recent announcement for Observable Notebooks 2.0. This question is there a relationship between Canvases and Observable Desktop and Notebook Kit, or Notebooks 1.0? And if so, how might one work between these tools? Anybody want to take this one?
I can talk a little bit about this. I would think of Observable Desktop and Notebook Kit. Again, we published these as a technology preview. I think of these as kind of reaching out to the future and pulling back something interesting. So right now there is no integration between Canvases and Notebook Desktop or Notebook Kit, but it is something that we're considering in the future, thinking about how we might integrate those two. And personally, I think it'd be a very neat trick to be able to work with these tools together at once, depending on what kind of analyses you're doing and how you want to share it.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks, Michael. And thanks for the question, Alexander. Okay, so now I will return to Michael. You actually had a lot of different things, so I'll let you pick what you might want to give a future preview on. What are some of your thoughts on where we're going in terms of data sources, sharing, and or workspace management in Canvases?
Yeah. So of course, with data sources, there's always more data sources to connect to. If you have your data in BigQuery right now, we don't have a solution currently, but that is actually next on our roadmap. So we'll hopefully be introducing that in the coming weeks. When it comes to things like sharing, one of the issues that we have is that we want to be able to share a live version of the canvas. It's actually interactive and you can explore on it. And so you should be able to filter down to smaller portions of the visualization to dive in and dig into the data. But doing that means that you're running live SQL queries. And so we're working on ways to be able to share that more broadly, with people you don't necessarily want to give your whole database to, in a way that's still safe and secure and under your control. And this is actually a fascinating problem that we're working through, and hopefully we'll have more about that. Maybe longer than a couple weeks, but in the future.
Awesome. Thanks, Michael. All right. Well, that gets us to the end of our Q&A. Thank you, everyone, for your great questions. Thanks, Paul, Visnu, and Michael for sharing more about new Canvas features, new chart types, AI in Canvases, and data sources sharing and workspace management. As a reminder, this is recorded, so we will share out the recording to all registrants in case you missed anything or want to go back and re-watch some of the demos. And make sure to check back with us soon. We will be holding more events and sharing more updates as Canvases continue to evolve. And if you want to learn more about Canvases and to request a pilot today, make sure to check us out at observablehq.com/canvases, where you can learn more about what Canvases are and sign up so that we can give you a more in-depth demo. All right. Thank you, everyone. We'll see y'all soon.